Hi guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today we're going to be using the Mason Jar and Lavender die set from Spellbinders. This is one of the new Susan Tierney dimensional flowers sets that's part of the Victorian collection that just came out on the 10th of March. This is going to be a super cute card. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. First thing I'm wanting to do is I'm going to die cut this guy out, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some vellum to kind of give it that more realistic, like a, I don't know, frosted mason jar. And I'm also not going to do a whole lot when it comes to the shaping of the rest of the flowers. I'm going to leave them mostly as is. So first thing I need to do is just go ahead and die cut everything out. So next I'm going to add a little bit of color to my branches here. I'm using some greens from Catherine Pooler. I'm starting off with the yellow, and I'm going to use just this extra brush here. This is just a brush that I got from Amazon. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go onto the branches and whether or not it's going to be enough ink, but I also didn't want to go too dark to start, so that's why I'm starting off with this lighter color, especially on this lighter cardstock. So I'm just kind of going around the edges, and it does look like it's giving it a little bit of dimension, so that is good. And I figured this would be faster than if I tried to do this using my markers, but you could absolutely use your markers for this. And you could, of course, use a larger brush for this as well, but I figured these are some real small spaces, so I wanted to try to use a smaller brush to try to get in those little gaps without covering the entire die cut with inks. And I do want a little bit more color than that, but I think my Deck the Halls is going to be a little bit too dark. So let's grab out some of my distressing. So I've got Mowed Lawn. I'm thinking that color is probably going to be the closest. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. I'm starting at the bottom to see what it's going to look like. And I think that that is going to be just about right. And since these are both water-based inks, there's no problem with commingling them. There's not going to be a problem with that. It's not like going from pigment to dye ink. Okay, now I'm adding a little bit more color, and with that, it is adding a little bit more dimension. I'm liking that. A little bit more variegation. Let's add a little bit more here, and on the underside of these on this other side. And I think that's going to be it for that branch. And just so that you can see a comparison, this one has got the ink and that one does not. So you can see that there is a little bit more ink there. It's not real obvious when you're looking at it over the computer, but I can see it pretty well here. And now I'm going to add some onto my lilac stems, or my lavender stems rather. Kind of doing the same thing. Okay, and then for this other one, since it's green, I'm going to use the same brush. That's another reason why I started off with a lighter color. For this one, I am going to use the Deck the Halls because that is a nice dark green, and this is a dark colored stem. And I'm pretty much just wanting to give it, again, a little bit of dimension and variation of color. Okay, so now my stems are done. So next I'm going to add some of these flowers onto my stems here. Now I don't know for 100% sure how many should be on each of these, so I am going to just wing it. The hard part for me is getting my little flowers to be the right side up. Okay, I'm just adding a bunch of glue there, and I'm going to add a bunch of these little flowers to it. And the die itself says that you're supposed to cut out you're supposed to be cutting out the flowers 6 times. I only cut it 2. So I may run out, and if I do, I'll just make some more. There's one stem done, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this one and with my other So I wound up needing to cut out a bunch more of those little flowers. I do have, so instead of doing 6, which this is what that says, it says to do 6, and I'm thinking that's for each of these pieces to fill it up. I'm not doing any kind of additional shaping or anything like that, and I am going to learn how to do that because I want to do this a little bit better and a little bit more and do all the things, right? So we want to do dimensional flowers as dimensional flowers also. Instead, I'm only using this twice per bunch, twice per stem. So I went ahead and cut out 2 more, again with the same 2 colors of purple. I'm going to go ahead and start adding them on to these stems, same way I did before. So those stems are all done, and I've still got plenty of extra little flowers to use on my card. Okay, so next I'm going to use this guy. So what I want to do, because I don't want the adhesive to be seen, I'm going to use some artist tack on the back of this. So I am just, see, this part still got a little bit of stick, but I'm going to put it a little bit further down because I have been using this up enough that I've probably used too much of the stick. I'm just going to burnish it down a little bit over the release paper. And then that is going to make it so that we've got some sticky adhesive on the back of this. Okay, so our vellum is all ready to go. Next, I need to put my stems where I want them. Now, one thing I did notice, I'll go ahead and show you guys. My card panel and card base is for an 8.5, I'm sorry, is for an A2 size card, and if I put my stems in, it's going to be too far and up and off of the card. So that means I'm going to be placing this down further. But let's get this ready first, and then I can decide exactly where I want to cut my card. So I am placing my lavender through the top, and then it's inside of my little jar. I'm going to do the same thing over here and do it again. Making sure not to touch the adhesive until I'm ready for it to stay where it is. Now this type of adhesive, I think you could probably move it around a little bit, but I don't really want to do too much. Okay, so we've got those, and now I can put in my extra sprigs and do the same thing. Just sliding it in through that little hole. And these I'm having behind the flowers because I want the flowers to be seen the most. Okay, so we've got all of our little lavender clusters and our little twigs there, and I think that's going to be super cute. And then I do want most of it to be showing on the card, so I'm going to just kind of I'm just going to kind of just see how it's going to look, and then I need to cut it right about where the stems end. Okay, so that I think is going to look pretty good. So I'm going to just take my long-handled scissors and cut straight on across right at the bottom there. There we go. And now I can adhere this down right along the edge of that card panel that I've got there. But I also don't want all of my little flowers and stems to be falling off of the page. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of these so that they will adhere down onto my card panel. So I am loving the way that this is looking. I do need to trim off the top a little bit though, because I've got those little bits that are past the edge, and that's okay, just trim those off. And now I'm pulling out of my stash just a little sentiment that says happy birthday, and I'm going to add that to the front of the card with some liquid glue. And this one actually works perfect because it was already stamped in purple ink. So that is going to finish up this card using the new Susan Tierney's Mason Jar and Lavender die set from Spellbinders. You guys be sure to check out this playlist to see more card videos where I'm using Spellbinders products, and I will talk to you soon. You guys have a great day. Bye guys.